All right. Well, thanks a lot for everyone for coming on. So just to get started, I've given this is kind of an overview of what I plan to cover on the call, and I'll be stopping a bit in the middle for questions and at the end as well for questions. We already actually got a ton of questions before we even started. So what I've done is I've put the questions into sections, and I'll have that be kind of the main topics we cover on the webinar. And then at the end and in the middle, if there are additional questions, I can try to handle them as well. I know there's going to be questions I can't get to, so you can always email questions at outgrow.co if I'm not able to get to everything. All right. So to start with, as you can see here, I want to start off with ideation. All right. And the key part of ideation is how do you come up with ideas for calculators, quizzes, webinars, calculators, quizzes, recommendation engines, or polls. So to come up with those ideas, usually the way we like to start is to look at your funnel, right? And to say, what are types of questions that people ask when they're just aware of the category, they're interested, but they're not really ready to buy. So for a roofing company, it might be, a high level question about roofs, types of roofs, what might look good on this type of house that I'm thinking of buying in the future. And so those types of experiences would do good as awareness top of the funnel, right? Or knowledge tests, like are you an expert in XYZ category? They're just assessing your knowledge, and that just kind of builds a top of the funnel awareness type of quiz. Or in sports, it might be how well do you know Kobe Bryant before you actually are trying to sell them specific merchandise. Okay, and then you can go down the funnel to middle of the funnel questions, which might be a little more specific around which specific Kobe Bryant jersey or shoe is most relevant, or how much does it cost to rebuild a roof. And then the final transaction are very specific to ROI, specific product you should get, comparison between you and a competitor, switching from one option to another. So there's a bottom of the funnel types of calculators, quizzes, and recommendations. So you can kind of see how they vary across the funnel. And many companies, what they'll do is they'll start with a top of the funnel quiz or calculator, and then based on the answers, they will take a subset of the people who complete the top of the funnel quizzes, and then they'll retarget them or send them a middle of the funnel or bottom of the funnel quiz or calculator. And that way, the top of the funnel is relevant to a large and wide audience, and then they're able to capture a lot of leads and segment those leads. Send some to the middle of the funnel, send some to the bottom of the funnel, and then keep a few on the top of the funnel and put them on a drip campaign. A key thing I want to talk about is, of course, you can also, this post after you've acquired the lead, you can have calculators and quizzes for existing customers, right? So how well do you know our product? Are you engaging in the product? Are you making the most of the product? Should you upgrade? Should you take this feature? And that kind of, those are for existing customers. But one thing I really wanted to highlight was the ideas. Actually, you already have a lot of the ideas in your sales team, in your customer support team, and in your customer success team. And so you don't really have to do too much research to get started, right? Just look at the question your sales team get the most, right? And I'm just going through, this is a support document that I'm kind of walking you guys through that you guys can all access. You can see the link right here, support.outgrow.co, and you can kind of search and see, you get a lot of information here. But your sales team know that a lot of customers are asking XYZ question, so we should build a calculator quiz around it, right? And then your customer success team know the types of questions your existing customers are asking, and your support team know the issues people are having, and how you can better educate, communicate around those issues with either a graded test or a knowledge test or other types of experiences that you can build on Outgrow. So this is really, I think, a really important component of doing well on Outgrow, is coming up with ideas that are relevant to your customer, making sure you have good segmentation and have a good understanding of your funnel, and then you're able to execute and promote. So the next thing I want to go through is examples. So This is an example which is basically trying to help you recommend which bike you should get. And this is an embed. So this is built on Outgrow, but embedded on the customer site. And so what you'll see is that, first question, what type of ride, what type of, are you everyday commute or are you a leisure rider, right? And so let's say I'm a leisure rider. And then question 2, what is the terrain like where you'll be riding? So let's say it's going to be flat. And then what is your frame? Let's say I'm diamond frame. Okay. And then they'll recommend a type of bike that I should get, and then I can shop it now and it will direct me to the shopping page, right? So it's a very simple experience. What I like about this is that there was only 3 questions and each question only had 2 options. And that 3-question, 2-option format works really well for quick recommendations where you don't need tons of data and where you're really focused on conversion. All right. Now, this is this type of quiz, because I've taken the quiz before, they don't ask me for the lead data, right? And they're kind of progressive profiling. But if I refresh it from scratch, then they'll ask for the lead data before they show the result, right? And so this is kind of a strategy that a lot of people do, is that they don't want to ask people for lead data twice because they already know the user. And so now if I come on as a new person and I take the experience, what type of ride are you looking for? And then I say, let's say very hilly. And then what is your frame reference? Now they ask me for the email. Okay, first name, last name, email. This is kind of the lead gen form. So I'll talk more about lead gen later on in the conversation, but this is kind of a common idea you have. So you gate the actual results. Okay. I'll show you kind of 2 different examples. So that one is a common quiz example. It's used a lot for recommendations for e-commerce, and it's simple and quick. This one is a little more involved. So basically, this calculator is how much does it cost to build an application, a mobile application, and this is kind of a very any salesperson at any services company will know that if they build mobile apps, the first question every customer asks is how much does it cost to build a mobile app, right? And that's a question you'll hear so often that the salespeople will always reply with "it depends." Right? And the reason it depends is because a mobile app is not, the price of a mobile app varies significantly based on what features you want, and it varies significantly based on the type of developer and designer that's required, and it varies significantly based on the location you need those developers and designers to be in. And so there's so many moving parts. And most people, what they do is they write a blog post, and the blog post is a good first step, right? It gives people guidance in terms of, okay, if you need something like this, then this is the range. If you need something like that, this is the range. But it's not personalized. Whereas here, if I say, okay, I want to build an app, it's going to tell me which platform is your app built in, right? I need, let's say, Android, but I might also want iOS. I might need to do both. So that kind of specifically to me is giving me, what type of UI theme, right? For me, I need a custom branded UI. UI is really important, but I only need 1 to 6 screens, right? So again, this is something on a blog post. They're not going to personalize. They're just going to give generic information. So what type of security, what type of sign up? Okay, let's say just email ID and password. Let's say security is very important for me, and then, I can keep going. Third-party services. Let's say I have an existing database. Okay, and then user management, admin features. So this is also something people don't think about usually when they buy. So these are the types of admin features I need. And these are, let's say I want to have in-app purchases, and then at the end, you can kind of put name, email, and a friend, right? And so let me just kind of say that I'm a test user, so they know that I'm just a test user. And then for the email, I'll just put test for now, or I'll just put my questions at outgrow.co. And then one of my friends who might benefit from this calculator, let's say support at outgrow.co. Okay. And so now this is kind of an interesting point here in many calculators when people ask, why are they asking for a referral? And the reason a referral is being asked on this lead gen form is because this lead gen form, this calculator is so useful and it's so informative and so powerful that you can ask for more than name and email. You can ask for a referral as well. And the referral is like, who else could benefit from this calculator? So it's not trying to be pushy. It's just saying like, this is a useful experience. Who else can benefit from it? Then you can ask for that third field and get the referral as well. And you're providing this kind of output for free, whereas a lot of other companies, when they want to provide an estimate, they charge you for the quotation sometimes. Or sometimes if they don't charge you, they just take weeks to do it. And what's interesting about this result is that it's personalized to you. It's telling you in this zone, this is the cost. If I move to zone 2, this is how much it will cost. If I move to zone 1, this is how much it will cost. It's all about personalization. And I not only see that, but I can also see this breakdown here on the right. And this right piece is so useful because now as a client, let's say my budget is $32,000. But I need them in the Northeast, because I'm in the Northeast and I'm not, and I want to be able to work with them in person or whatever. I have some sort of need that they need to be there, or it might be I'm working in healthcare and I need the data to be stored in the US. Okay, so then I say, oh, it's 35. I only have a budget of, say, 32,000. I need to drop $5,000 of cost. I can see, okay, this security is costing 7,800. So maybe on my MVP, I can reduce some of the security, save some money there, and I'm going to be able to still build what I need to build. So I know how to play around this, and that type of information is you're getting all that information in a few seconds. Imagine how long this would have taken to get all this information and knowledge. How many calls, how many quotes, how many specification documents, how much back and forth emails would you need just to get anything close to this type of information? And now you're giving that up front. Of course, you got their name, you got their email, you got a referral, and then you have your call to action here, which is post your project. So you already have all the data about the project. If they need to post it, they just click a button, and they've already built so much trust with you as a company because you've shown them how knowledgeable you are about the space. All right, I'll go over a couple more. So this is the mortgage calculator. This basically shows, you take your loan amount, right? And then you take your interest rate and the payment term, and you have all these different property tax variables. And you can see that if I move my loan amount up from 250 to, let's say, 350, my mortgage payment goes up. If I move my APR up, my mortgage payment goes up. If I move my payment term down, it goes up as well. So all these things make sense. And what's cool is that you can actually show the charts and amortization table in real time. So you'll see how the beginning balance goes down over time as you pay down the principal. And then you can see the total mortgage payments go up. And because it's equal monthly payment, this is a linear total mortgage payment line. And then the interest paid goes like, and kind of curves like this. And the reason why you'll see the marginal interest is going down is because the beginning balance, the balance is going down. So the interest on that balance, on a small balance, is going to be less. And so this payment from here to here is much smaller than from here to here, where you have a higher beginning balance on the interest. And then you can see here the amortization table, which shows all the information above in detail, like your yearly payment is constant, how the beginning balance is. So this type of information is really powerful, and you can build this with Outgrow. You can vary you can change variables and it will update. So if I change this to 30, the 20-year graph will change to 30 years, and the 20-year table will change to 30 years. So it's kind of a cool interactive financial services type calculator that can be built for that. So examples. The next thing is the overview of the builder. I have so much information. You guys have so many questions, so I'm trying to go over a lot. So I apologize if I'm going a little fast, but I will take a break in about 10, 15 minutes for additional questions. So just bear with me for a bit, and then we can go from there. All right. Now we're going into the builder. Okay, so the builder basically has three sections. So you have the left side, right, which is the navigation, the center, which shows you kind of a preview of how it's going to look, and the right is where you adjust the values and the properties. So you can have the welcome screen here. How much can you save in real estate taxes? You can do everything you'd expect. You can change the background image, all the palettes, the colors, the tint, the font, etc. And then you can come here and you want to change this. Like how much you save on real estate taxes? Let's say I want to add a subheading and say, let's say, see how much, see, users and send them into different flows because it's kind of a different experience. So what you'll do is you go to question 1 and you say, some people are saying that they're having trouble hearing. Let me just double check why that is. Okay, Cool. Now they're just saying they're back. All right. If you guys have any issues hearing me, just message on the keep messaging and commenting so we can double check, and we'll have the tech team looking into it. All right. Apologies. Some people said that they lost me for a few seconds, so apologies for that. So I will just basically what I said for those who missed the last few seconds. I said when how much can you save in real estate taxes? Now, the first question can be something along the lines of residential versus commercial, but you might want to create a logic jump and basically say, I want to put residential people who answer residential down one path and people who answer commercial down another path. And you can do that by adding a logic jump. So you click Edit Logic Jump, right? And you say, if question 1 is equal to residential, then I don't want them to go to question 2. I want them to go to question 3. If it's not, then I want them to go to question 2, because question 2 is about commercial, question 3 is about residential. And so this is a very simple logic jump. And then I click Done. And it applies, and now people will get segmented. So then question 2 will be, what type of commercial? Is it a bank? Is it a hotel? Is it office? Is it medical supplies? Is it restaurants, right? And when I come to question 2, I can assign a value to bank, hotel, office, general, etc. Now, to be very simple, let's just assume that the tax for a commercial bank is 1%. Okay, this is obviously not what it is, but just to make it a very simple example for the sake of this conversation, for this webinar. So let's just assume it's 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Right? So that means that if you're investing commercial and it's a bank, 1% tax. Okay, hotels 2%. Okay, so I assign the values here, and in the future I'm going to create a formula using these values. So obviously the person actually taking the quiz is just going to select bank, but us on the back end, we're going to say, oh, bank is because they selected bank, that's associated with a 1% tax. So now I can use that information and inform my result at the end. Okay. And then question 3. Now, the key important thing here is that we don't want people who go to question 2 to go to question 3, because question 3 is about residential. So what I've done here is I've added another logic jump. Okay. That says, if you answer question 2, no matter what you say, you shouldn't answer question 2. You go to question 4 in all cases, because question 3 is only for residential. And if you landed on question 2, that means you're commercial. So we shouldn't ask questions about residential. Okay. Now, of course, this is a simple example. We're assuming people aren't investing in both commercial and residential. So technically, you can add on question 1 option C, commercial and residential, and then make people go through both question 2 and question 3. All right. But this is a simple example just for the sake of this conversation. So this is why we did that. Okay. So then we click Done. It applies, and we can move on to question 3, which is what type of residential, high rise or garden, and then purchase price of property. Right. Say, and you can put a numerical input. The key thing here is that it's a text input, but we require numeric only, and then we can put a range of what values we allow min to max, 5 million. It's really important to have numeric only, because this is going to be used in the formula, and you don't want people to put letters in the text box. Otherwise, the formula is not going to work. If someone just writes, if they by mistake write A or B, or they hit a letter, you want to notify them, hey, you made a mistake. You should put a pure number here so we can actually apply it in the formula. So this is why numeric only is very important, and why you should assign min-max values. Placeholder is just there to kind of guide people. Okay, it should be around purchase price property. This is kind of the range for that, right? And then you have the lead gen form. How can we get in touch? My name is, and you can get in touch with me. Very simple. This is the standard lead gen form you'll ask. And I'll cover the lead gen section right here. In terms of location of lead gen form, it really depends on your goal. If you want to just if you're focused mainly on lead gen, right, which a lot of companies focus on, they mainly put this lead gen form on the welcome page, and that gives you a lot of conversion, because a lot of the traffic is coming in, especially if the calculator title is interesting and it's useful. People want to just test it out. They ask your name and email at the top, and that gives you the most lead conversions, right? If your focus is a lot on engagement, but you want to generate leads, then people usually put it here. So if lead isn't your main goal, then you can put it here. You engage with people, and here you'll get a bit less, obviously, than the people who on the welcome screen, because we found that the conversion rate on welcome screen versus before the results, on average, is better on the welcome screen. It might vary specifically for your industry, but usually that's what we've seen. But you can put it here, you'll get some more engagement, and these leads are tend to be very high quality, obviously, because they've just gone through the whole experience and they really want to see the result. And so you can put it there for that type of example. And then here you can put the result. Right now, I got a lot of questions about the formula, and so I do want to cover the formula. I'm going to go through two simple one simple and one a little more advanced formula. Okay, so let's go to R6, and this is a basic formula. And again, this is not real, but so we know that the purchase price of the property is Q4, right? And we know that Q2 has is what type of commercial real estate you invest in. So for every let's say it was bank, right? Bank was 1%. So we take 1, which was the value, divided by 100 times by Q4, and we get the tax. Okay. Now this is a very basic formula. Now obviously we also want to, for residential, we're going to use the same Q3, right, which was 1% for garden homes and the other 2% for the option B. So we do Q3 times 100, Q3 times Q4. Now we know that people can't answer both Q2 and Q3 because they're either residential or commercial in this example. So you can just add it and it should be fine. And then you can apply the formula, right? And you can say, I want to add a $sign at the one. And if you're not sure, you can say, show a range plus or minus 10%. So that people see the range. If it's short, if it's a certain value, you can remove it, and then you can add decimals if you want, right? And you can see how value changes as you refresh combinations, and then you apply the formula, right? So this is a basic formula. Now let's look at a more advanced formula, a little more advanced. So now let's assume that for some reason, if you're not a bank, that the rates double, right? Your tax rates double. So if you're a bank, meaning Q2 is less than 2, that means, or Q2 is equal to 1, you can even have, instead of Q2 is less than 2, you can just say Q2 is equal Q2. If Q2 is equal to 1, then show me Q2, right? Because if it's a bank, then the value should just be, so this if statement format, everything before the question mark in this parentheses is if this is true, basically. So if Q2 is equal to 2 equal signs is equal to, okay? If it's equal to 1, that means you know that it's a bank, right? Because it's 1%. Then we should just use Q2, the value that's in Q2, which would be 1. We should use that. Else, after the colon, is if it's not true, meaning if it's not bank, if it's everything, all the other options after that, which would be like office and hotel, then we need to double the tax rate, double Q2, the value that we assigned, okay? And we take that and put it here in parentheses, and then we take the whole thing, quantity that's shown here, divided by 100, and multiply it by Q4, right? And this would be just one example of writing an if statement in Outgrow, and this would be a bit more advanced. Now, realistically speaking, this would not be, Q2 is equal to 1 would say, okay, it's a bank, and then based on the length that you're depreciating the asset, based on the years, you would assign a much more complex formula here, and for each value. So bank will be 1, then you'll have another formula, say plus. Here you would assign 0 if it's not a bank, right? And then you basically this whole value would go to 0 because you're going to be multiplying by 0, and then you would say, but if Q2 is equal to 2, right, which would be the next value, then let's say in that case, for some reason, it's 3 times Q2, right? I'm handling them separately. Each situation is different and unique, and you can have its own formula, okay? And you can keep adding. And then again, if it's not Q2, then you know this value is going to go to 0. So these are going to be, because this is if Q2 is 2, 3 times. If it's not 2, then this whole thing is going to go to 0. Again, you can do the same thing. So that's kind of a quick overview of the formulas. And that puts me at integrations and segmentation. So let me see. I'll give you guys like 30 seconds. Let me just quickly review some of the questions that are coming in. And I'll give you guys like 30 seconds to breathe. And then I'll go over, so that then I'll continue with the agenda over here. So All right, so we're getting a question that says optimal length of a calculator quiz. So that's a really good question. So I showed you one example, which was 3 questions and 2 responses. And I showed you the mobile app cost calculator, which was a bit longer. The mortgage calculator was a bit longer. So really what you need to think about is if you're trying to give someone a valuable output, and people know that it requires some like serious knowledge, then like mobile app cost calculator, right? If you only had 2 questions and they gave them an estimate, then people aren't going to trust it because they know that a mobile app has so many moving pieces. And so if they're serious, they're going to complete the quiz, the whole calculator. On the other hand, if you're asking way more questions than you need to, then you're going to have a high churn. So usually, let's say your market research team really wants to know the marketing budget of the client, and you're a marketing agency, and you want to tell them, how should you invest your marketing dollars, right? So you can ask them, what's your monthly marketing budget? What type of customers are you targeting? And then you can basically, inform what types of platforms and social media platforms they should use to market. And those are fine. Now, if you get into if you ask, let's say 3 questions, if the whole thing is 9 questions, and let's say half of the questions, 4 or 5, or asking them questions about their designation and how many years they were in the company size. If you ask too many of these types of questions, which aren't really relevant, which might be considered to be irrelevant to the actual goal at hand, then you're going to get you're going to get leakage on your funnel, right? People aren't going to convert all the way down. So you have to be careful. I think usually we recommend 3 to 6. That's the most common kind of range of recommendations, depending on complexity. So that kind of gives you a gist, and then try to keep any market research related data to be less than a third of the questions, so that so that people don't think you're just trying to gather as much information about them and not actually provide value, which is the key piece of what we're going after with these quizzes and calculators, is actually have a valuable result or an interesting or fun result. All right. Okay, I do want to get through the rest, so I'm gonna keep answering. I'm gonna keep going through this format, and I'll try to be a bit faster so we can have some more time for questions as well at the end. All right. So the next thing is integration and segmentation, which is something I think is critical and ties very strongly in with what I just talked about. So let's say I want to integrate. So I go to configure and I go to integrations. I click on native, and let's say I want to integrate with HubSpot. Okay. So what you see here on the left side is you see the fields in Outgrow that you can map to HubSpot. Okay. So for example, I can come up and I can say I want to map the UTM source on Outgrow to my lead source. To my lead source on HubSpot, right? And so that those 2 fields will map. The key thing is to make sure that lead source in HubSpot is text input. And so, or string field basically, and so the UTM source will be able to pass. And then let's say city. I want to map city, so I'll go down and I click city, and so now the city field from Outgrow will map into the city field on HubSpot. And then interesting things you can do is basically question 1. Let's say I really want to know what type of real estate they're investing in. I want that information to be available to my in my HubSpot CRM for my CRM team, but also I want to send them different marketing emails based on the answers they provide. So I need to send the data to HubSpot and put them on separate lists in HubSpot. So that segments the users based on the answers. So what I'll do is I'll click on this field on HubSpot. Say, okay, I want the question 1 ads that they provided. Sorry, the question 1 answer that they provided. I want that to go to this field that I created in HubSpot. It's as a custom field, which is called Q1 answer. So I created the custom field in HubSpot, and then once you reset the connection here, you'll update over here on the fields, and then I can map Q1 question 1 answer to question 1 answer. And then in HubSpot, I can create a workflow, right? Similar to what I said with the monthly marketing budget. You can say, oh, if someone's marketing budget is less than $5,000, I'm going to send them to this marketing automation campaign. If they're 5,000 to 10,000, I'm going to put them in this marketing automation campaign. And if it's over 10,000, then I'm going to send them to a salesperson for follow-up. But I will be able to know which territory they're in because I have city and country data. And so I'll be able to send it to the salesperson responsible for that territory. So you're able to do a lot automatically, syncing data you have in Outgrow with marketing automation tools like HubSpot and CRMs like Salesforce. So this is kind of the power of using the integration properly and segmenting users, and kind of making sure that you're leveraging the answers in a way that's useful and informative, right? And of course, there's many different integrations that you can use. I think there's over 1,000 at this point that you can leverage, from native to Zapier. And then obviously we have webhooks and custom variables that you could add as well. All right, so that covers integration segmentation. The next thing is launch an email. So the way the launch an email works, I can kind of show you here. You click launch an email, so it's very simple. So the first question is, what type of real estate do you invest in? Okay, now let's say I want to send this to a list that I have, right? I might have an email list of a lot of people who are interested in real estate, but I want to kind of activate that list or re-engage the list. And instead of just sending them a link to the calculator quiz, I want the first question to appear within the calculator quiz, within the email. So what you do is you take the code that appears here, and you just copy and paste it into your email, HTML, whatever each email tool you're using, like MailChimp. So you can come here and you click launch an email, copy the code, and then here on launch calculator in email in MailChimp, you just click on the code field, the code tab, and then you add the code, and then you'll see the email populate on the left. And you basically just need to have the first question a single select, right? And then you can launch it. And the key thing in this specific case is you don't want to have lead gen on the welcome page, because here users are going to answer question 1 and then go to question 2 after they click. So if you really want lead gen, you'll put it after the lead gen, before the results. But again, here obviously you already have their email because you're emailing them. So you're just trying to activate your existing email list. But to make it easy for you to tie the responses to the email, you probably want to put the lead gen form before the results, and then you can easily tie that. Or you can have unique UTM tags that you'll pass in that Outgrow can then take for you, and then you can use the UTM tags to map answers. So there's a couple ways you can do this. But this launch an email feature is something we're very excited about. We think it's very powerful, and we'd love to see if you guys have any questions about it, because it definitely helps activate these massive email lists that you might have had for a while, but you don't have a lot of data around, and you're not able to segment them as well. And here you're able to engage them in the email and get the data that you need to know. How can I keep sending them relevant information instead of sending them all the same email that might be not as relevant. Okay, so analytics and testing. Okay, just got a couple questions about launch and email. I'll answer that one. I'll answer one of them quickly and then move on. Okay, so in terms of ability to add images into the launch and email feature, so we are exploring. I don't know if you've seen the progress on launch and email. It was a beginning. It was only like option scales, and then we added other single select type questions. And so we're going to continue to see what is possible, what we can do, and what features are available. So we do a lot of research before we launch things in email to make sure things aren't being detected as spam and things like that. So we will be looking into having more options to customize this visual appearance. So you're not limited to this format. You can add images and things like that. So that's things we're looking into. But there's a few variables that we have to think about, because if customers do this at scale, you want to make sure they're not getting hit with any spam filters or any things like that. So that's why we don't have it right now, but we are looking into. We continue to hone this feature. All right, great question. All right, analytics and testing. So this is, I think, a really important piece. As I said, we have a lot of average metrics. We have a lot of industry metrics as well, but it's always good to test it for your specific customers, for your list, and see what works best, right? Just changing the wording of a question can make an impact. Changing the image or the GIF associated with a response can make an impact. So you really want to make sure you're reviewing the analytics and you're running tests. And so from the analytics, you can see a lot of data, right, around unique visitors, conversions. You can see kind of graphs of how things are performing over time, so, and then so you can basically track, which campaign is causing, generating the most leads. And then you can also see all the user responses, right? And so from the user responses tab, you can see here that, the user details, all the questions they answered, and then you can go in and adjust the dates and the calendar for that as well. Okay, so there's a lot of data under the user response that you can review. One thing I really like in the analytics tab, which I recommend reviewing, is the user funnels. And so here you can basically look at the funnel and say, okay, from February 7th until now, this is just a test example, but you see 12 people visited, 83% of the people who visited started, 67% of the total completed, 58% generated leads, and then there was no the CTA. No one clicked on the CTA on the results page. Okay, so that gives you a sense. Okay, why is no one clicking on the CTA on the results page? How can we make that more engaging? And then is it relevant? Is it too salesy? What's going on there, right? And then you can see what's good and what's bad about it. And what's also interesting is you can click on the questions funnel, and you can see how users progress down the funnel. So now this is just to clarify here. I know people get confused with this piece, especially when there's logic jump. So I can walk you through it. So here we had 12 people visit the calculator. Now 10 of those people started, right? So that means they got to question 1 and they answered question 1. Now those 10 people answered question 1. Only 5 of them answered question 2. And the reason is that only the people who answered commercial question 1 would see question 2, and only the people who answered residential to question 1 would see question 3. So one of the people who answered question 1 did not answer the second question, which would either be Q2 or Q3, depending on the logic jump that they got routed to. So that's why you only have 9 here, because one of the people dropped after they answered question 1. They left the funnel. They left the calculator. Then you have 5 question 2, 4 in question 3, and then you have all 9 of these people answered question 4, because everyone saw question 4 regardless of which branch you were on. So that shows you how the funnel works. So this is really interesting. And as you run A/B tests and you run a duplicate, change a few features, you look at this. A lot of what we do is we look at these analytics with you and try to see what's causing what's causing drop off, right? So you're seeing, oh, this drop off here between 1, 2, and 3. There was one person who dropped off after 1, but there were 0 people who dropped off between question 2 and 4 and between 3 and 4. So all 5 of these went to 4, and all 4 of these went to 4, so you have 9. So it kind of helps you say, okay, maybe we can do something to optimize this, and what we can do to look at, right? And so you can also, with the overview metrics, you can see total visitor starts, conversions, conversion rate, and then you can see traffic over time, the location of traffic, what devices they're coming on to source the browser. In this case, it was Chrome desktop, because it's just a demo example. And then you can adjust dates to see how things are performing over time. All right, final stretch. Promoting a calculator quiz and Outgrow chat support. Okay, these will be relatively quick, but promoting a quiz is a question you guys asked a lot on the webinar sign up. So I actually want to make sure this part is clear. So there's a promotion checklist that you can see on Support Doc, and there's a promotion checklist that's also under the Configure tab under promotion checklist, right? And so let's say we only want to there's a lot of different promotion ideas here that you guys can review under the Configure tab, promotion checklist. Let's just assume we're focusing on lead gen for now, just so we have something easier to work with. And we're trying to come up with ideas. So sending emails to your database, I just talked about, right? We just launch an email. So that's a good way to get traffic to your calculator quiz and also get segmentation data. Another idea is to write guest blogs, okay, and embed your calculator quiz in the guest blog. So let's say you have a guest blog about how to improve your Facebook marketing, right? And you go through like 5 or 6 ideas, and at the end you might say, assess how well your current Facebook marketing strategy ranks up relative to other people in your industry, right? So then you can have like a ranking type of thing based on how the answers they provided and how well they're converting and the industry they're in. You can tell them how they compare to others who are advertising on Facebook, and that would be like a really powerful complement to your guest blog by having a quiz embedded in that experience. Or you can have a knowledge test, like see how much you retained from this post about what you should be thinking about on Facebook, and then you just test their knowledge of if they comprehended the content of the blog post. Obviously, ads on search engines, ads on Facebook, those go without saying. Those are paid marketing strategies. Those can get you tons of traffic, but you have to optimize them to make sure you're not spending too much to get the traffic. Of course, you can host the calculator quiz on your homepage. This is usually done for really important. So when you take all the calculators and quizzes you have, you can take the most important ones and put them on the homepage, right? So if it's core to your whole business, right? Let's say you are one person was in construction, right? And let's say you're in remodeling, right? So if your whole business is remodeling, and then a remodeling quoting engine or remodeling that's a question. Let's say that's the number one question you get. You can put that one on your homepage. But then you might have things on your the secondary and third, the secondary or tertiary kind of experiences. You can put them on the blog. You can put them on the emails. You can send them in emails. You can send them. You can have separate pages for them, or tabs on the homepage for people to go like what type of how should I choose what type of kitchen I should get, and then you could have one for that, or how much do you know about the remodeling process, right? How long will it take for you to remodel? So things like that can be second or third experiences that you can have as tabs or add to your blog post. Of course, retargeting. So what you can do is you can add a Facebook pixel. Okay, when I click under General SEO settings, I can add a Facebook pixel and a Google Analytics tracking ID. And so then the Facebook pixel allows you to retarget people. And so you can do that. You can retarget people on Outgrow and people from other experiences. You can run ads on LinkedIn. So there's a lot of different things. One thing I did want to highlight was organic. Okay, so I know a lot of people mentioned that the organic was something that mattered to them, and not only obviously the paid ones are clear. So other organic ideas would be posting on Quora. So looking at if your best experiences are probably already exist as questions on Quora. So the answer to a question on Quora, instead of having a massive post, you can just say, hey, like this calculator, like the mobile app cost calculator, answers your question and covers all the main 12 dimensions that you need and gives you ranges that covers the different the variation by geography. And so that would be a really good answer there. And that's organic, it's free. Google, and then communities, Facebook groups, Reddit, wherever your people live, forums, LinkedIn groups, Yahoo groups. So there's different groups that you can post on. And again, here for group specific strategy, you want to put your best experiences so people don't think you're just spamming, but you're actually trying to add value. If you have a very simple calculator that you just built and you're just testing things out, then it doesn't work as well on groups because people are kind of going to see through it and not. But so you want to have good experiences on groups. So make sure that it's useful, it's interesting, and it's high quality. If you have something that's not as engaging or interesting or useful, and you don't work on the results page to make sure it's interesting, then if you just go through, like, let's say you're targeting startups, and you just go through every single Facebook startup group, and you keep posting the same, like those things, people are gonna backlash. So you want to make sure you have a good balance, making sure you're doing it properly with a good strategy around how you're posting it, the story you're posting with it, and making sure that yes, you're getting their email information and you're generating a lead, but you're actually giving them a good reason to take it, a reason to give you the email info, and a good, valuable output at the end. So those are important parts to a lot of the organic strategies to make sure you don't get a lot of backlash. Just make sure it's useful. Okay, chat support. All right, so a lot of times people have questions and they're not sure kind of where to go. The best place to go for a question is just to click on the bottom right, chat, and then click new conversation, and then ask a question. So you can be like, hey guys, I have a question about X. Can you help? Right? Boom, you can just send enter, and then someone from the team will come back and try to help you. Okay? So don't be afraid to ask questions, even simple questions, about the formula, about anything. Just message us right there, and then you can see 3 people from our team are kind of available kind of around this time, so they can help you. Okay, so don't be afraid to don't be afraid to ask us questions anytime you have a question. So this is kind of there for a reason. And so this chat thing here is for you to ask us questions. So make sure you use that so we can help you and so you don't make mistakes that we've seen other customers make with promotion or with launch or with lead gen location or with ideation. So the more we can help, we're happy to help. So that's why it's why you see it on the bottom right and why it's always there. All right, so I will go over a few more questions. Now I've covered kind of most of the key points I wanted to cover about the product and about the builder. So let me just see any other questions that are coming in right now or questions that we got before that I can cover. Okay, so in terms of the layouts, okay, that's a good question. So yeah, this layout is the Tokyo template. Okay, so we have different templates. This is the Tokyo template. This one is the Chicago template. All right, and it's embedded in a page. You can see that this is our client's website. It's not our website, but we allow the opportunity to embed. So sure. The question about embeds, it's actually very simple to answer the embeds. Actually, someone just replied to the webinar. So let me just say like no. Yeah. You can see pretty fast reply. Okay, I can close this now. So I can embed on a web page, and then I can see in page, full page, and pop up. When I click in page embed, I can then go down and get the code. And I can click copy, and then I can copy and embed this code. This would be in page because as you can see, this is within a page. It's not the whole page. Okay. There are a lot of templates. So the question about the various templates to choose from. So let me show you that piece as well. So there's different layouts and they're optimized for different scenarios and different use cases. So I can kind of show you, let's do a numerical calculator. So this template is very popular. It's a Londoner template. It shows you results in real time, kind of similar to Tokyo. This is Chicago, which I showed you. Okay, then here, the popular thing about some of these templates here is that so basically what's popular about the Greek template is that you can see here it's a sentence template. And so you can see the whole sentence. So basically, let's say I want to ask you like questions about insurance. And the thing with insurance is you ask a lot of questions. So here yeah. So you'll see I need 1 to 2 actors I want to shoot at. And so you can ask a lot of questions in a sentence. Another example would be, this is a video example, but in insurance it would be like, I am X years old and I have this many members in my family. I have this much income and I want this level of insurance. So that's like 5, 6 questions in one sentence that you can ask and kind of making it into a sentence and they can quickly select from a drop down. And that's good for those use cases. This is a popular template as well. Tokyo, I already covered. Madrid is a section-based template. So you have different sections and then you have results on the end. So this one's pretty popular. Stockholm is a cool icon-based template, as you can see here. And then this is Venice, which basically allows you to go through. It's kind of similar to Chicago. And then this one is more for financial calculators, Seattle. So it's mainly for calculators, mainly for finance. Okay, so that goes through that. And for pre-made templates, so basically what you can see is you can see different industries. And these are pre-made calculators. The formulas are done, the questions are done, the answers are done, the values are done. It's all done for you. You can just click use template. You get everything done. And then you can tweak certain things. Right? You can change the logo. You can change certain values based on your business. But it just gives you a really powerful starting point. And you can see there's a wide range of pre-made templates that we constantly add to. And these are only the pre-made templates for calculators, right? Because I click numerical calculator. So if you want to see pre-made templates for other things, other types of experiences, then you can click quizzes, or recommendations, or polls. on the dashboard, and you can see those pre-made templates. All right. Let me see any other questions. Okay, yeah. So idea generator. All right, so this is an idea generator. Basically, what you do is you click get started, and you kind of go through which category does your company fall into, and you basically will help you. You click subcategory, and then you put in your email, and then it will give you a will give you like top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel ideas, and you can kind of tweak it over time and see how it varies. So that's how that works. The link to this, I'll choose a subcategory. Okay. The link to this is just outgrow.co/idea generation. It's also accessible on the Outgrow homepage. And then you can scroll down you can click on idea generator. So you just go down and then you click idea generator. Okay. All right. I'll do, let's see, maybe 2 more questions and then call it a day, so you guys have some time to unwind before your next call or meeting. All right. So, all right. Software. So B2B software examples, specifically construction. Okay. So in construction software, let's say you're selling the construction software you're selling helps with there's different parts of the construction. Let's say you're helping with supply chain of the raw materials that you need. So what you can do is you can create a calculator. You can go back to the idea, these ideas that we talked about here, and you can say, okay, if someone at top of the funnel thing will be like, how much do you know about your current construction supply chain, right? Or how much do you know, or see how well your current construction supply chain ranks relative to others in your industry. And if you're building construction software for that field, you'll have a lot of data that you can use to kind of help people get a sense of what they can do better to improve the way they're handling that part of their business. And then you can say, let's say your software helps streamline reduce inventory costs, or let's say your software helps them with find construction workers that are part-time, right? Whatever it does, right? So then you can have very specific things to that in the middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. So if you help them find contract workers for construction jobs, you can say like, how much time can you save by using our software to find construction workers part-time? Or what is the lift in revenue that you can get by hitting target by using our software, because we're going to help you hit targets earlier and be ahead of schedule, because a lot of the time you had allocated to replacing people or finding an expert, we can do much faster for you. Or if it's an inventory thing, you can show them how their inventory costs, like how much are you going to save on inventory costs by using our software, right? And then you can have an ROI calculator that says, which would be bottom of the funnel. What is the ROI? You can say, oh, what is the ROI on using our software? So you're going to save this much cost on inventory using our software to manage inventory and the whole the ordering of certain materials. And then obviously there's the cost to our software. So you can look at the ROI. So you invest, the investment is the cost in our software, and then the savings that you generate, and you can see how much extra profit you're able to get. And so you're able to prove ROI, and from that standpoint. So that would be a good example for software. A lot of sales software will do things like that, like how much time are we helping you save on your salespeople, how much more lift are your salespeople getting, and things like that. How much more revenue per salesperson are you going to be able to generate? Things like that are good calculator questions. Okay. All right, last question. Thank you for the people from Australia. I know it's like really like it's probably like 6:30 or something, 6 in the morning. You probably woke up at 5 for this, so appreciate that. All right, so the last question I'll probably take is, The question on, let's see. Okay, education. Okay, so education. What are good examples for education? Okay, so obviously, education is like a broad. It's like a massive industry, and there's different things you can do within education. But let's just assume you're um, trying to generate students at your university, and you're trying to generate leads and kind of get people interested in your university. So you might look at, what's unique about your university, right? Is it your extracurricular activities? Is it, specific degree programs, specific professors, specific topics? And there's those things you might want to highlight. And that would be one section of calculators and quizzes. Another section could be just, what type of major if you should you do? So that's a common type of thing. What type of career path makes the most sense for you? Which professor should you make sure to take a class with? Um, um, what And then you can have kind of specific questions around for let's say you want to do something that's related to clubs in your university, right? So what clubs should you take? What clubs would be the best fit for you? Right? Or which university, you can have a which university is the best fit for you quiz as well. And then you can match them to universities that are relevant. And so if they're really focused on, let's say, nursing, you have a nursing program, you would refer them to another university. But if you have a great math program, they're interested in math, and you would, mention your own program. And so you can kind of do things along those lines. There's so much you can do. You really want to think about, what's your value prop? What types of questions are your admissions office getting a lot of? What types of questions do your counselors get, the advisors when the students join, and what types of questions do you get when you go around into high schools and you meet with students? And so I would also look at those. All right. So I wanted to apologize for everyone. I was not able to answer questions, but please, as I said before, you can message us right here on the bottom right on the chat, and we're happy to answer it. And you can email us some questions at outgrow.co. Happy to answer it there as well. And hope this was useful and interesting. And I look forward, and our whole team looks forward to hearing all the questions you have and trying to get back to you as fast as possible. All right. Thanks for listening, and appreciate your time. Have a good afternoon, morning, or evening, depending on where you are in the world. And take care. Bye bye.